So we are out and about, and we're out and about at Chatham Dockyard. We're going to be catching up with Nicole Mollett. Nicole, it's always good to catch up with you and talk to you.
Good to catch up with you too, Daniel. Thank you.
Well, we're catching up with you this time as you're now working for Ideas Test, Creative People and Places, Swale and Medway. So I was hoping you can tell us a little bit about your role there.
Yes, well, I am the Small Experiments Ambassador, and it's a rather lovely title, but basically means that I'm here to help people write their applications and proposals for the Ideas Test grant fund, in particular for those people who are looking at applying for their smaller grants. Although I do advise people for other ideas as well, because obviously I understand the general aims and objectives of Ideas Test, but I'm specifically there for people who perhaps are coming to this whole project anew and need a little bit of help with constructing their ideas so they're more likely to be selected. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, so and also I'm there to advise people on when their idea hasn't been selected, to give them feedback, right, so that they can reapply.
So it could be somebody who's got an idea but they're not quite sure how they would apply or what you're looking for, and you'd help them to get it ready for applying. Yes,
what our main aims are. For some people, for instance, who've got dyslexia, we can even do a face-to-face interview, and I write down what they're saying in the way they're saying it to help them get around that complication of finding it difficult to write. But yeah, mostly it's a case of people contact me, we can arrange to meet and talk through the ideas if they're really at an early stage, or perhaps if they've looked at the website and they've seen the 9 questions that we ask people to answer in their application, then they can send me a first draft through, and then I scan through it and give any kind of immediate feedback that I see, kind of obvious, areas for improvement, that sort of thing.
So I was hoping you could actually explain to our listeners what Ideas Test actually is.
Yes, sure I can. Well, basically, quite a few years ago now, Arts Council did a review of where they were spending their money. So they counted the number of people not only applying for grants across the UK, but also being successful in being rewarded grants. And what they found was that in certain areas, like, for instance, London and Brighton and Oxford, as would be expected because they were sort of cultural centres, they were receiving a large number of applicants and also a large number of successful applicants. But then they also found that in other areas, what we could call the cold spots, not only were there not that many successful applicants, but there were also not even that many people applying for Arts Council grants. And so even though those areas might be not urban centres, there were still proportionate numbers of the population, a lot of people living there, and as this is obviously public money, they felt it wasn't right that this money wasn't being spent evenly across the whole of the UK. So Arts Council created this fund, if you like, or they portioned off some of their money and gave it this lovely title of Creative People, Creative Places, and then offered it to multiple places across the UK to apply for, and especially those areas where less of their money was being spent. So Medway and Swale were identified as places where not many applications were coming in, and I think I'm going to not get this exactly right, but in the year of 2011, comparatively speaking, because Oxford area district has a similar number of residents, and in Oxford they received something like 60 applicants, and in the same year Medway and Swale they received only 10 applicants. So that gives you just a sense of the difference that they were experiencing. And so they created this fund, and then a number of arts organisations in Medway and Swale saw the advert for the fund and thought, hang on, we should go for this sounds like a really good deal. And so they formed a consortium, And then this consortium bidded for the money, and I think they were successful. And I know, Daniel, you were involved, obviously, so you could probably tell me more about this. But I think it was 2012 when it was awarded the grant money. Is that correct? Or
yeah, it probably was.
Yes, yeah. And so there's a long kind of back history before the kind of ideas test part of it started up. And so basically, ideas test is the part of the project, or the project that is specifically happening in Medway and Swale, but obviously there's, I think, 17 Creative People and Places projects happening all across the country. So we are one of 17 projects, and so Ideas Test is a 3-year research project which is looking into new ways of getting people, targeting people, arts organisation and non-arts organisations, and looking at ways in which they can increase participation in the arts.
So it's making it on a more local level to make it more approachable for the everyday person to apply for funding.
Exactly, and the idea is that our grant scheme is a lot easier than applying for a normal a grant, not only an arts grant, but in terms of just quantity of information you have to provide. We ask applicants to answer 9 questions, which are very straightforward questions, and also something like 750 words per application. So, that's perhaps at max 2 sides of A4. Whereas if you're doing a normal arts grant for the arts application for Arts Council, you're looking at least sort of 5 or 6 pages worth of writing, very specific, complicated questions where you have to justify many different things about what your project will achieve. So our grant is aimed at trying to skill people up and build their confidence, so that then hopefully they're more likely to be applying for the Arts Council grants thereafter once they're successful with us.
So in some ways, the idea is, if you've got an idea, these 9 questions will help you split that idea up into a way that you can assess it. That's right. Is that kind of the process, and what is there more to it? Yeah, well, no,
that's precisely it. I mean, basically, we have an official series of key aims that you can look at on our website, but we're looking for projects and ideas that are firstly innovative, i.e. doing something very different, not only for that organisation, but hopefully in comparison to other art projects that have gone before. Then we're also looking at how that idea is creative, because obviously in that we want projects to primarily promote cultural and creative activity. We want to make sure that that's the main emphasis of the project, and it isn't just a add-on, if you like. And then also it's a question of participation and whether it's increasing participation or not. And obviously some projects have higher audience and participant numbers than others, but we always want, when we're looking at a proposal, to really make sure that whoever's applying, that they've correctly sort of aimed their scale of their project, so they're trying to increase participation as much as possible for them. And then, of course, quality, which is a very difficult question to answer, but the questions that are part of the application process try and ask the organisation or individual who's applying how they're going to guarantee quality. Have they looked at what sort of artists they might be involving in the process, or just their methods of delivering a process, so that it isn't just kind of any old creativity, but really high quality. Because obviously the more quality the creative act is, the more people are more likely to want to be involved. So that's a very important part of applications and projects.
One of the other things I keep hearing about is community catalysts. So what role does that play?
Oh well, yeah, that's something slightly different to the small experiment. So the small experiment is a grant for £2,000, up to £2,000. So people can apply for £600 if that's what they want. And the Community Catalyst is for grants up to £5,000, and that's slightly different because in order to apply for that, you have to be nominated as a catalyst. And basically, the idea of a Community Catalyst is somebody who's very much a type of person who gets other people actively involved in things. So a kind of a leader, if you like. It doesn't have to be official title. It's just somebody that perhaps lots of people know and recognise, and it's the sort of person that's always there and visible in the community. So a nomination process is very simple. You just need a colleague or a friend or somebody who knows, who can vouch for your own activity, to send us an email and nominate you. And then you're allowed to apply for up to £5,000. But the only difference with those sorts of applications, it's the same 9 questions, but there's an extra question which basically asks, how is your project going to get other people actively involved? So whereas the small experiment, I mean, obviously we're all looking for participation on all projects, but with the Community Catalyst and obviously with the slightly more money, we look for more sustainable impact on other group members, and how beyond the activity, how other people can continue doing whatever creative act it is beyond that project, so that you can prove its legacy, if you like. So that's the Community Catalyst grant.
So again, it is the case, if people have an idea and think they'd like to get funding for it, the best thing to do is to talk to you, and you'd advise them what is the best time to apply and how is the best way.
Basically, we normally have 3 grant rounds a year. We've just had one in May, so we've literally, the decision panel has just met. So the next one is going to be in September. So there's a fair amount of time, but you know, obviously it's a really good idea to start speaking to us as soon as possible, because in order for us to be able to give you advice, it's a long conversation. I work part-time, I'm 2 days a week, so I have to arrange my meetings in advance, and I'm quite happy to come out and meet people where they are. So we have offices in Faversham, but I can come to anywhere in Swale or Medway, but in order to have a proper conversation and then allow the applicant time to take on board what was said and then change or restructure their draft, it's best not to leave it till the last minute, i.e. the week before the decision panel. But yes, so you can arrange to, if you email me, my email is nicole@creativepeopleplace.info, but you can find that on our website, or phone the office, and Cassie, who's our coordinator, will arrange you a date, basically.
I think one of the ideas behind your Creative People Places Ideas test was to support people more than perhaps what they'd normally get, because one of the things is people often apply for grants and write about how they're going to be tied down or committed to what they've got to do, or whether they can fulfil it. And I suppose the idea is you're on a local level, so that you're there to support them through that process.
Yes, I mean, for instance, we're the whole end goal is that we give people the skills and confidence so they can go it alone. But in many of the different projects, I've done various assisting roles in order to show those project managers my skills and how I would do it. For example, the Art in the Park project, which is happening in Milton Creek, I've helped them design their posters and their flyers. So obviously in the long term they're going to need to hire a designer, etc. But in the meantime, whilst it is pressing and the event is imminent, I've stepped in there to help them in that way. In other instances, we introduce people to people who might be able to help support the activity. So it's also about networking and bringing different people with different skills together so that we maximise the impact of the projects.
So I understand there was another area you wanted to make our listeners aware of.
Yes, that's right. We've decided, this last decision panel decided to make a special new decision panel stroke grant round available this July, so very soon. But this is specifically for projects and proposals to do with the Family Arts Week, which is a national event that happens in October. I think it's early October. So we're looking for proposals from people who are very keen to attract more families, adults with young children, to their either venue or project, etc. And the activity or proposals would have to happen around the Family Arts Week. So that's one of the criteria. But beyond that, it could be anything and everything, as exciting and innovative as possible. But yeah, please contact us soon, because we're planning on having a decision panel on that in July. So less or just about a month's time. But yeah, that's exciting new news, and I think that something like 20 grand available there. So up to 10 small experiments could be possibly awarded as part of that application process.
So we are talking to you at the Chatham Dockyard. That's what I've caught up with you. And one of the things I've noticed is here is the Kent Cultural Baton. So correct. I was hoping you can update us on how that's going.
Yeah, sure. Basically, the Baton has been sleeping, for want of a better phrase, since the Olympics finished in 2012. But we've decided, after having a meeting with KCC, to resurrect it, because it was such a successful project. And there's obviously still many people who were connected to it who are interested in its usability, if you like. And what's happened here is University of Kent, who are having their degree show today, have kindly offered to host it or manage it and look after it, because they've got lots of space here in Chatham Dockyard. So it's being used by University of Kent, but it's also there on offer for other arts organisations to use across Kent. So people can contact me, and if it suits in terms of our calendar, there's a chance that you can borrow it. With regards, obviously, one has to fund the transportation, etc., but it's there available for those people who are interested. And I'm about to, as part of the relaunching of the Baton, I'm about to deliver a Fuse commission in Medway as part of the Fuse Festival, which is happening in June. So this project that I'm about to deliver is a series of one-day interventions, and we're calling it One Day Works. And basically the idea is that we're going to showcase 10 different types of Medway talents. That's everything ranging from visual arts to musicians to writers to performance artists. And this is going to happen over the period of 2 weeks. So we're starting off, I think it is on the 4th of June in Walderslade, and then we're basically travelling all over the county in a sort of miniature grand tour, if you like, and we're going to places like the Isle of Grain, to Strood, and then eventually we're going to end up where the Fuse Festival is happening itself, in Gillingham, Chatham and Rochester town centres, with lots of really special, exciting projects on show. Okay.
I was just thinking, actually, we're talking about the Kent Cultural Baton. Although you've been someone I've regularly spoke to, we might have new listeners or listeners that didn't quite catch on. So I was hoping you could explain what the Baton is, because you haven't actually done
of course. Yeah. So the Kent Cultural Baton was a commission I got in 2009, and basically, to describe it as an object, it's an Airstream trailer, the 1960s version, which was called a bubble, I think, at the time. And what we've done is, or what I've done with the help of South East Coachworks, who are based in Faversham, is to somewhat alter it. So it's completely empty on the inside, bar a few seats. It's got a periscope with cameras and listening devices at the top, and it's also got a side opening, so it kind of opens up and out pops a little stage and a disabled ramp, and it is quite simply, I suppose, a mobile gallery come workshop space, but it's primarily there for arts activities, although it can be kind of broader things culturally. So it could be a historic society or some other form of community group that does something interesting. And the idea was with the Baton that for the Olympics that we wanted to go around mapping culture in Kent. So we did a sort of gigantic call out, if you like, and lots of different arts organisations. I think we had, and general organisations, we had 82 in total hosted the Baton, and each time it went somewhere it showed something completely different. It opened up and people could come in and take part in creative cultural activities. And that's what it's still doing now, basically.
Which is nice, because I think originally there was an end to it, so to carry it on must be.
Well, I mean, basically, since the Olympics, I've had endless amounts of emails from people going, "Can I use it for this? Can I use it for that?" There's definitely. I mean, I think public art is always an interesting territory, but there's a lot of artists who work in a way which people now call socially engaged. And it's just a really brilliant tool because it's made of shiny metal. People see it and think, oh, what's that? You can move it very easily. It's just, you pop it on the back of a trailer on a car tow hook and off it goes, and it creates this lovely little space, it's very cosy, because it's all curved edges. People don't find it intimidating, it's quite sweet. And also plus with the side opening, if you're a bit unsure, you can even just peer inside and see what's on show. So you don't even have to enter. And I think just because of the way it is, it's meant that obviously people can see the usability of it, and that therefore it makes sense to keep using it instead of just locking it up and throwing away the key. If there's a need, why not make it happen, basically.
One of the things I always notice when it's about is it always draws attention, because there's people who just like to look at those caravans. I think I have an interest in it, and then with the art in it as well, it's kind of this double thing. There's people interested in the Airstream caravan and people interested in the art.
We do have a lot of people, we did. Sometimes we get people coming up and asking us questions just about the caravan. And I once had one chap and he was like, I don't care about art, just tell me about your caravan. But that's fine, because if it gets people in unwittingly to seeing cutting edge contemporary art, then that's a great thing, isn't it? So yeah, it has that charm and appeal, which is one of its, I guess, plus points. Yeah.
Well, Nicole, I'd like to thank you very much for catching up with me at the dockyard and telling me all about your new role at Ideas Test and updating us on one of your older projects, the Baton.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daniel.